My name is Sharon Quinn. I am also known as the original runway diva, and you are watching Model Behavior. Today, my guest lecturer is award-winning celebrity stylist, fashion savant, international TV personality, Spry Lee Scott. Let's take a look at the world of Spry Lee Scott.
Celebrity fashion stylist, fashion savant, Spry Lee Scott has been quickly infiltrating the fashion and entertainment industries. With a professional background in modeling, he has taken his creative input, passion, and extreme sense of style to another level, becoming one of the industry's most highly respected and sought-after fashion stylists.
When I come in here, I actually act as my own muse. If you have a dress, let's say with the back out, I may not be the best model for it, but trust me, this is a really hot piece.
Spry has styled some of today's top entertainers, including Angela and Vanessa Simmons, Mandy Moore, Bow Wow, Neo, Alicia Renee, Jackie Reed, and so many more.
This was perhaps more.
Even if
What's the first color you see? This color is what I like, and it's really rich and it's beautiful, but I think everybody has me on this one because it pops more.
This is what he does for his customers.
Let me take the pin out of my skin.
Most recently, Spry has joined the team at globalgrind.com as a celebrity blogger, fashion writer. With television and radio appearances from Access Hollywood to MTV's Run's House, his fashion expertise and credibility will soon be considered fashion standard.
Welcome, Spry, to Model Behavior. Ladies and gentlemen, class is officially in session. Now, the first thing I want to ask you is, what is a fashion savant? Because I don't know, and I'll admit that.
Okay, well, a savant itself is just someone who is well-versed or very knowledgeable and expert in that field. So whether it's hair, makeup, architecture, it could be anything. So fashion savant, of course, just means I'm very knowledgeable in the world of fashion.
Now, how long have you been doing the styling thing?
I've been, I want to say a little over 15 years now.
And how did you get your start? How did you know that that was what you wanted to do?
Well, I mean, it's crazy because I started out in as a model in the industry, and even while I was modeling, I had access and I was around stylists all the time, but I never thought about it until I kind of got, when I was ready to officially leave the modeling world, and a friend of mine just suggested I look into styling. And I said, wow, like, all right, I'll check it out. And I did some research and I started, and actually my agent, who was, or the owner of the modeling agency that I was signed to, also used to be. Well, no, it's Identities New York.
Okay.
So Tim Harris was the owner, and he was also a former stylist. And I spoke to him about that, and he just put me on to the game. Was
it easy to get? Well, I guess it's easier if you have someone who already has a leg in, right?
It definitely is, and I kind of fell into my first job. No experience, no portfolio, anything like that. He actually got me an opportunity to assist a stylist who ended up dropping out of the job for a bigger job. And they asked me to step up as the lead stylist. And this was my first job.
Wow.
And it was for Today's Black Woman magazine. And it was a 7-page fashion spread. And it was crazy. But Tim Harris, he really walked me through it, and I did pretty well. So in the beginning, it was easy for my first job, but when you start at a certain level and then you got to go back, and that's what I had to do. I had to go back and start assisting people and, interning and things like that.
And so how long did you have to do that?
On and off for a few years. Even now, I have relationships with other people who are stylists, and we kind of help each other out from time to time. So you never get to the point where, I don't want to say where you stop assisting, but you move from assisting, I will say, to working with other stylists sometimes.
Okay, who was your first celebrity client?
Oh, wow, now you're taking me back. And it's so funny because I talk to a lot of, I always talk to schools. I've been talking to young people at schools for a while. And when I first started out and I said who it is, and I'm gonna tell you in a second, everybody knew who it was. But now, as the years go by and I start mentioning him, and they're like, who? So my first celebrity client was actually Montel Jordan. You know, this is how we do it.
Yeah, I know who that is. You dressed, you styled him?
Yeah, I styled him for, well, I told you my first job was with Today's Black Woman magazine, which is housed under Harrison Publications. And so they have different magazines from Today's Black Man, Today's Black Woman, Hype Hair, Brazen Beauty, Word Up magazine, just a bunch of different magazines. And they pulled me in to start dressing celebrities for the magazines. And so he was my first client shooting for the magazine.
And what was that like? What was he like?
It was cool.
Was
He
this at
actually
the height of his career?
Yeah, I would say it was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it was his second album.
Okay.
You know, but it's, years ago. So, but I mean, most of my interactions with celebrities have been pretty good, So most of the time, it's never the celebrity. It's always the people around the celebrity that you got to deal with.
The entourage.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. Now tell me about the Rising Icon the Grey Goose Rising Icon Award. What is that?
Oh wow! It was an award that was given to me, of course, by Grey Goose, and I was nominated by a DJ that I worked with for a couple of years, just doing different events. He actually helped me throw a couple of my annual parties that I used to give for my birthday.
Yes.
And right. And
yes,
so,
I remember.
So he knew about my work in the industry, and he just saw me growing in the industry, and he put my name in for a nomination, and they awarded me with this Rising Icon Award, which was really a blessing in itself, because some of the other people, Amanda Diva, Laurel Lux,
and these are all stylists.
These are artists. These are different artists, different musicians. Pharrell, if I'm not mistaken, was the recipient of the Rising Icon Award.
Oh.
I can't even. Trey Songz, I remember, was one of them. Melanie Fiona, Chrisette Michelle. So
company.
it was really just a privilege to be amongst some of these names.
Okay. Now tell me about you host something called Mad Swag?
Well, I hosted a show called Mad Swag on BET International. It's the sister station to Black Entertainment Television.
Okay.
And so it doesn't show here in the United States, or didn't show here in the United States, but it aired in over 50 countries throughout Switzerland, Ireland, the Middle East, Africa, and London.
Wow.
And it's pretty much, the best way to explain it is a black fashion police. So we talked about, but we did it on an international level. So some of the artists that we were talking about, I had to do my research and find out who these artists were, because I've never heard of them.
Okay.
But they're big in like France and South Africa and Europe.
Now, were you on a panel?
Yeah, well, it was 4 hosts. We had April Woodard from Inside. You may have known her from Inside Edition and
sounds really familiar to me.
BET News, and she was our entertainment reporter, and she kind of like held us all together. And then the makeup expert is Kim Lee, who has worked on television projects like Black Nativity, or movie projects rather, like Black Nativity. She did Sparkle. She was one of the last artists to work with Whitney Houston. And then there's Johnny Wright, who is the hairstylist to our First Lady, Michelle Obama, as well as a bunch of other people that he's worked with in the industry. And so he was the hair expert, and then you have myself, who was the fashion expert.
So y'all would just break it down?
Yeah, we just broke down red carpet fashions. We talked about stage performances, hair, beauty, everything.
And so you're not doing that anymore?
No, well, the contract kind of died out. There was some, just some, I guess, internal changes at BET International. We were filming out of DC, or our home was Washington, DC, and they moved their headquarters to London. So.
Well, that'll kill a job.
Well, I mean, they could have asked me to come to London. I would have made the trip.
Okay. So you doing any other? You looking to do any other TV things, or are
Well,
you
yeah,
doing TV stuff now?
yeah. And it's so funny. A few years ago, my first introduction back to television was with Angela Simmons. I was working with her on her magazine, which is another magazine through Harrison Publications, and so I was working side by side with
That's
her
Rundown.
to run Angela's Rundown,
Okay.
right? So I was working side by side with her to get the first 5 issues out. And that led to an appearance on Run's House. And I saw it and I was like, all right, I could kind of do this TV thing. I like the way I look. So, I mean, and that just sparked my interest. And other projects just fell in. I was able to do Access Hollywood when I was dressing Mario. I did BET Style with T.I. I did MTV You Hear It First with 702. So
And
a bunch
you dress these people, or you got to actually speak on camera?
I dressed and I was interviewed for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there, a TV career in the future?
Well, hopefully, I'm working on it. We have some projects that's under the belt, and we'll see what happens.
So you can't talk
God
about
willing.
it. You're just gonna put it out
Well,
there.
you know what it is. It's just that the industry, because I've worked on projects before, and it's not just my own projects and television projects, but I've worked behind the scenes on different projects. I've worked with artists, and all of that. And in this industry, sometimes you'll put a lot of work into a project, and then it's sitting on the shelf. So unfortunately, you don't really want to talk about it because then everybody is asking you, oh, well, when is this coming out? When is that? I thought you was working on this. And then it's kind of frustrating as well.
Yeah, that's like, doing a whole TV series and then having a big party, and then your part is on the cutting room floor.
Right.
So then your guests, I've had that happen
Right.
to me. You need guests are looking at you
Or
like,
you tell everybody you're going to be on something, and then they see it, and you're like, no, you got to pause the TV. I was like right between 102 and 104.
Yeah, that's it's not cool. I
Right.
totally understand you on that. Now tell me, well, what happened to the magazine, though? Angela Simmons magazine?
Well, I mean, it kind of just had its time. I think she was only under contract for, don't give me the line, but it wasn't going to be a full-fledged magazine. It was actually an insert in one of our magazines, Word Up magazine.
Okay, so did you still work for
Harrison Publications. No, I was the fashion editor for a while at
I'm
Hype
glad
Hair.
you brought that up.
Okay, I was fashion editor at Hype Hair magazine for a while, and I kind of just got to the point where I stopped growing, or rather, I just felt that there was no more room for me to grow there, and so we parted ways. It was nothing negative or anything, any bad blood.
You felt
or
like you had
nothing
gone
that.
as far as you could
Right,
go.
absolutely.
So how does one segue from fashion styling to editor?
Well, the way it happened, I was working with the magazine for a while, and Adrienne Moore, who is the editor at Hype Hair magazine, she's also at Today's Black Woman magazine. She became familiar with my work, and so, and before Hype Hair used to get a lot of, or rather Harrison Publications itself used to get a lot of stock photos from the artists that they would feature. But then I think once they started seeing some of the things that I was doing as far as styling, more celebrities were open to doing exclusive shoots for the magazines, and more, it's not just the celebrities, but it's the publicists and the managers behind them that also have to approve it. And one day, Adrienne Moore just called me up and asked me if I write. And that is actually a love of mine as well. Like, I really love to write. Even in high school.
Do you really?
I love to write. So when she asked me if I knew how to write, I said, sure. So she asked me to send her a writing sample. I sent it over. And maybe about 20 minutes later, she called me and offered me the job as fashion editor.
Okay, you know what? That's how it's supposed to be. But now, of course, there's a book in the making here, right?
Okay. No,
okay,
absolutely.
You
No, absolutely.
that?
No, I do know. I always feel. I mean, and there are ups and downs that go into not only this industry but life in general. And I've always felt that there's nothing that I do that's for me alone. And what I mean by that is that if I have to go through it, I think that God gives us enough that we can handle. You know, he anything that we go through, we can handle it. And there's some things that you might be able to go through that I can't handle. But that's not my story. You know, and there's things that I've gone through that you might not be able to handle because it's not your story.
I get you.
However, if I'm able to share my story, other people who are going through some of the similar situations can say, wow, like he did this. You know, and that's one of the reasons why I like to go back to the schools, especially in the neighborhoods that I grew up in, the schools that I went to, Boys and Girls High School in Brooklyn, you know.
Ooh, boo, boo, JFK, Boogie Down Bronx.
So I like to go there because I'm able to say, look, like I was sitting in this chair. You know, I ran these same streets that you're running now. You know, and if I can be successful, you can be successful as well because we have the same exposure.
And this is a part of the volunteering thing that
Yeah,
you do?
yeah, I do a lot of volunteer work. I was out in LA for a while, and I was working with an organization called Mokiti, Men of Color in the Industry.
Okay.
And every Friday we volunteered at a school, and we mentored young men. And they were elementary school kids, and I want to say Compton, but I might be wrong.
Oakland?
So, but Oakland, Compton, but California, in the Los Angeles area.
Okay.
And so we did that, and I loved it. And when I went out to LA, one of the first things that I wanted to do, besides find a church, was to find a program where I could mentor and be or just be able to volunteer. Because for some reason, I just don't feel complete in volunteering if I'm not volunteering. I also work with an organization here in New York called Hype, helping young people excel. And it's therapy through the arts, where we work with young people and we do things such as dance, drama, creative writing, step, roller skating. And what we do is we use it as twofold. One, to build relationships with these young people through these arts, to get them comfortable with talking about their issues. Because in the Black community, in communities of color, period, you know, therapy is so taboo. But I was exposed to therapy when I was young, and I realized how much of a help it is. You don't have to be crazy to go to therapy.
And sometimes you just need to talk
Right,
with someone
yeah,
who is
that's what's the word?
Yeah, I'm looking for it too.
Right. That just has no relationship, no connection to you, you know, and objective, you know, and so therapy I always felt is important. Like I love therapy. You know, I was going for a while, and I'm like, all right, now I can start going again. I got some time, and every once in a while, just to get some of those things out. But we also use it as a means to teach the young people how to direct their anger and their energy, period, into something positive. And it works, and I've seen them grow. And some of the young, I just ran into a few of the young people because we had a roller skating team. And I ran into a few of them at the roller skating rink about 2 weeks ago. And I think that's probably the greatest payment is to know that they're doing something positive.
Yeah. If you can take them off the path that they're on and put them on a different one, that's always got to be fulfilling.
Absolutely.
Now, you know this is about teaching.
Right.
It's about teaching the kids.
All right.
So tell me, let's talk about your experiences as a stylist.
Okay.
Tell me about a really negative one that maybe almost made you question what you do. Have you had an experience like that?
I mean, I've had different experiences. I think that, I can give you an example. I can share an experience. I remember when I was assisting, and I worked with someone who wanted me pretty much like nonstop. I was her right-hand man, pretty much, for a while. And I got an opportunity to travel with another stylist as an assistant. And when I came back, she was like, all right, I don't want to work with you anymore. But the thing is that she didn't even say it. It was the phone call stopped. She stopped answering my calls and my text messages and things like that. And that's not even the problem. The problem was, as me helping her out, I had gotten her an opportunity to work. Well, she used to work for major companies, like major record companies and editorial magazines, and she would always get a car service. I met a gentleman who was here from, I want to say Africa.
Okay.
But he had just moved here and he was making money, driving his own car. He registered, got his own car service, making money to bring his family over. And so sometimes she would pay him out of the pocket. Sometimes she would say, listen, I'll build the company and they'll pay you, and it's fine. When I lost contact with her, it was also him losing contact with her. So it was a lot of money that was left on the table that needed to be paid. And I felt bad because I was the middleman that introduced them to her. And I told him, you get your day rate, like double your day rate working with her. And I mean, I ended up paying him some of the money. I was an assistant and really an intern at the time, so I couldn't even afford it.
Oh, so you tried to pay him out your pocket?
I gave him some of it. I gave him as much as he would accept from me.
Dang,
And
man.
so, I mean, and so things like that, but you learn. And what I look at it as, you know, people go to college and they pay all of this money for classes. And so when things like that happen, I say, oh, all right, that's just a lesson. You know, $1,000, I lost $1,000, that's a $1,000 class that I just took.
Okay,
And
that's a
you
good
learn
way
it,
of looking at
and you
it.
move forward, and you learn. Not only do you learn what not to do, but you learn how not to treat people.
Absolutely.
Because that's important. Anytime somebody don't answer my call, you know, I learn to return phone calls. Anytime somebody talks nasty to me, I learn to speak to people with respect. You know, and that's what we have to do, you know, because otherwise, if you get angry,
Or
it's
you
just
give
going to eat
back
you
what
up.
they're giving you.
Exactly. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Now tell me, I'm going to flip it. Tell me about a positive experience, a really good experience that you had.
Wow. I mean, I have so many. I think the one of the greater things is just being able to work with other people who I know, you know, other stylists especially, and not just stylists, but hairstylists, makeup artists. You do build relationships, and when the best thing for me is when I'm able to hire other people for jobs, and I'm able to put money in your pocket. Like, that's great. But I also could say one of the greatest experiences for me, and this is even though it's not inside the entertainment and fashion industry, it's still me doing my job. I had an opportunity to make over 20 women over the age of 60. And it was in the church that I grew up in. So I knew a lot of these women. These are women who helped raise me. But these are also women who were raising their grandchildren, you know, grandmothers who had never taken time out for themselves. One of the women said she always wanted to be a prom queen, and she never had an opportunity, never went to a prom, never went to a dance, anything, never went anywhere where she had an opportunity to dress up. And I made over these women, and that was the best experience for me, because celebrities, when you're working with celebrities and models, and it's something that they do every day, and it's not that they don't appreciate it, but it's kind of like you take it for granted. It's
Yeah,
like,
you don't
all right,
get to
I'm sitting
see
in the
it.
chair and get my makeup done, you know. But with these women, they were so appreciative, and since I've done it, like I said, it was 20 women over the age of 60. Since I've done it, maybe about 5 or 6 of the women have passed and moved on. But the greatest thing about it is when I go to their funerals, their obituary picture is the makeover picture. And I like that because it feels to me that, because usually when you choose a picture, you want to find a moment in that person's life where they not only looked their best, but they felt their best. And I like to look at these pictures. And I went to a homegoing service 2 weeks ago for one of the women, Miss Myrtle Dixon. And again, her picture was there. And so I don't look forward to going to the services,
But you know,
I look forward when I do have to go to see their pictures on that.
That is wonderful. That would make me feel good. That's amazing.
And it makes all of the sacrifices, all of the late nights and all of the crying and the struggles, it makes it all worth it.
Okay. Now, we all have our people who have inspired us, or people whose work we admire. as a stylist? Who are some of the people that inspire you?
Well, I think when I first got into the game, or when I first started really looking into it, there were only a few people, of color who was doing it as far as I know of.
Okay.
And so these are some of the people that I've looked up to, and just to see them in the game, it's still working in this industry, and knowing that they made a way for me, I look up to that. So people like Joan Ambrose, Misa Hilton, Roger McKenzie, Atiba Newsom. I also look up to other people that I'm friends with, like Worry Vice, Stephen Kinlock. These are all stylists in the industry that I see every day, and these are people that I'm cool with, you know, and it's no bad blood, and I like that.
Okay. So you seem to be very happy and fulfilled. Woo.
But you know what, but it's because I choose to be this way, and it's not to say that I don't have any bad days, especially like as a freelance artist, every day is like going on an interview. When you're not working, you're not working. It's not, like I don't have any sick days, I don't have any vacation pay.
Please say that again.
Things like that. Again, if you're not working, especially as a freelance artist, if you are not working, then you are not working. So every day you have to work, if that makes any sense.
So you gotta be
when
on that hustle.
when I'm not being paid to be somewhere, then I gotta be on my computer, I gotta be sending out emails, I gotta go to events. Things like that, because that's all a part of being in this industry and networking and letting people know that you're still here, that you're still working, and because you disappear for a minute, and so many people, it's 50 other stylists coming in trying to take your job.
Wow. All right, stop. That's deep though. The freelancing piece is really.
Yeah, it is, and it's definitely a struggle. I mean, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was really going through it.
Okay.
Because
I'm gonna stop you.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop you because we got about a minute left, probably less, and I just want to say thank you to Spry Lee Scott for sharing his knowledge with us today. Before I go, I want to leave you with a couple things. I want you to always surround yourself with positive people and positive things. Remember that you can't change the game until you first learn the game, okay? And lastly, do what you love and love what you do. My name is Sharon Quinn. I want to thank you guys for watching Model Behavior, and I will see y'all next week. Class is dismissed. Bye.